Hello there. In today's tasting, I'm taking a look at a Chilean Sauvignon Blanc. So this is Casa Marin's Cipreses Vineyard Sauvignon Blanc, and the vintage on this is 2022. And this wine is the most searched for wine on the Wine Searcher website. It comes from the San Antonio Valley. So the San Antonio Valley is a cool climate coastal region. It's about 90 kilometers to the west of Santiago, and the region lies to the south of Casablanca. Casa Marin are one of about 4 pioneering wineries for this region. They're from the Lo Abarca subregion, and there are 3 subregions: Lo Abarca, Leda and El Rosario. Now the region here has an annual winter rainfall of somewhere in the region of 200 millimetres of rain a year. So that's not sufficient to sustain the growing of vine and the production of grapes without the use of supplementary irrigation. Thus it was that in 1998 an 8-kilometre long pipeline was constructed to bring irrigation water from the Maipo River into San Antonio Valley, and the capacity of that pipeline limits the amount of grape growing and wine production that can go on in the San Antonio Valley region. The climate here is moderated by its proximity to the ocean. This particular vineyard is only 4 kilometres from the Pacific, and here the Pacific Ocean is quite deep and it's cooled by what's called the Humboldt Current, bringing cooler water up from Antarctica. Also, the humidity that's present produces morning mist, which again helps to moderate temperatures. And in fact, the average temperature for the growing season here in San Antonio is somewhere in the region of 14 degrees Celsius most years. Casa Marin, as I say, one of the early wineries to be established in this region of Chile, was founded in 2000 by Maria Luz Marín. She was also something of a pioneer in terms of being one of the first women to found, to run a winery and to be the winemaker. Today she's joined in the business by her 2 sons, Felipe and Nicholas. Now Felipe trained as a viticulturist in Sonoma and learned to make wine in New Zealand, whereas Nicholas's role in the business is to run the operations side of the winery and to deal with tourism. As I say, the Cipreses Vineyard here is located in Lo Abarca, about 4 kilometres from the ocean. It has limestone and granite soils, and vine age is 22 years. So the fact that this is the 20th vintage shows that the vineyard from which this came produced a crop that could be made into wine in its 3rd growing season. Casa Marin's vineyards are all certified as being sustainable. They have a very ecologically friendly approach. For instance, renewable electricity in the form of solar panels provides 100% of their energy, and currently they're working towards a carbon zero status. The fruit for this wine was hand-picked and sorted between the 1st and the 7th of April. After crushing, a third of the wine was allowed to spend 3 days doing a cold soak, whereas the remaining 2/3 was gently pressed and the juice fermented in stainless steel tanks at temperatures between 9 and 12 degrees C. So quite a cool fermentation, really aiming to retain as many of the beautiful aromas of the fruit as was possible. A small proportion of the wine was briefly aged in oak barrels. The wine wasn't acidified and it wasn't clarified in any way. So let's have a look at it and see what we make of it, shall we? We've got here a pale yellow, almost with a greenish tinge. The wine has 13.5% alcohol and it's clinging fairly readily to the glass. It's very slowly producing some tears there, but not rushing to. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? Gosh, the aromas are very pungent, and there's a real combination of quite a number of quite typical Sauvignon Blanc aromas on the less ripe end of the spectrum. So you've got things here like nettles, gooseberries, cut grass, those sort of quite green elements. There's an underlying and very vivid passion fruit note. There are touches of slightly riper tropical fruit, almost a peachy touch. Yes, I'm coming back to those more methoxy, nettly gooseberry notes, which come to the fore despite a sort of a rounder, richer, riper fruit there as well. So that's for taste. The palate is dry and there's a very pungent. Gosh, there's a really pungent note of those sort of nettly note in combination with the acidity and the brownness of the wine. That sort of gooseberry note is really coming through. It's, like I say, it's tart, but actually, you know, from the gooseberry point of view, there's a roundness and a richness to it as well. So there's a lovely concentration of fruit, and there really is this sort of front of mouth pungency right from the outset. I suppose there are sort of citric notes, almost sort of limey crispness on the finish, but in fact we've already had that sort of tart, greenish note to the acidity, and what's left is sort of mineral and citric. And the tart notes do leave my mouth watering at the finish there. The wine has good concentration, it's mid-weight, there's a reasonable richness, and its pungent, tart, green fruit nature follows through to the finish fairly well. The winery's notes suggest that this is a wine that could age for 10 years, while alone that it's certainly got good acidity and there is a weight to the fruit that may well make that possible. I think actually the attractiveness of its pungency and its vivacity as a young wine now is probably going to outweigh any gains you might get from development in terms of aging. Probably during time, the rounded fruit notes will be more asparagus-like, with less of the tart green nature that it's currently showing, which is giving that mouth-watering note, and will make it really lovely to pair with things like sort of soft goat's cheeses. Would be beautiful with sort of green lip mussels or something like that. So yes, an incredibly pungent Sauvignon Blanc from one of Chile's cooler coastal regions. So thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you've enjoyed the tasting. If you have, do please press the like button below us. If you'd like to watch more of these tastings, it would be fantastic if you'd consider signing up and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you have any comments that you would like to leave, please pop those in the comments box below. We really would be very interested to hear your views on the wines we're looking at, the tastings we're doing, or anything else about that. If you have any friends you think might like to watch the video, please feel free to pass it on to them. Your recommendation of the video means a lot to us. I will leave a link in those notes below to the Wine Searcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, so you can see where it's available near you, what its pricing is, and then using the tabs on that page you can find out more about the producer, the region, the grape variety. There are also other tabs in which you can see critics' reviews, you can see any awards the wine's won, you can see reviews from other users, you can see a pricing history. So hopefully we've managed to gather everything there that you might need to make a fully informed decision about buying a particular wine such as this. So thank you once again for joining us, and I do hope you'll manage to make some time and come and join us for another video tasting in the very near future. Till then, bye for now.